important at the same time. If you're someone interested in this topic, Dajjal, the coming of Mahdi, Yajuj and Majuj, consider to subscribe to this channel. We start by praising Allah Azza wa Jal. Innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa natubu ilayhi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Today's topic will be talking about Russia, Putin, how it is defeating the Dajjalic system. In recent reports from 2022, I think it was from last month, May of 2022, they are publishing several reports, several of them. Every report, they are claiming that ruble, Russian currency, is becoming stronger each day. Thanks to the incredible demand that Russia has created through carbon oil, I believe that's what they call it, market, because if you want to buy Russian oil and gas and energy, you have to pay in ruble. And this is a ultimatum that was given to the Western countries by Russia, that you have to deal with ruble, and that made the ruble very lucrative, very valuable currency in the world, because now countries from US, from Europe, maybe not from US so much, from Europe, they have to have reserve in their banks of ruble, of Russian currency. In the beginning of the war, people thought that Russian ruble will just collapse because of the pressure, the stress that the economy will face. Ruble will just disappear, but Russia, they held their ground well. They're fighting, they're not capitulating at all, and as a result, what we're seeing is that ruble is gaining more and more strength, and they're becoming a dominant currency against the dollar. I believe right now in the world, ruble is the second strongest currency after US dollar. So you have to have ruble to all countries, Pakistan, India, Australia, you have to have ruble if you want to get energy for your country. This brings me to this point, very important, which is the Dajjalic system. We know that the Western liberal societies, they are the Dajjalic. They are promoting a system where you can do whatever you want. You can be LGBT, you can be anybody, and you have no problem. You can practice pretty much your animal instinct. You're being facilitated to practice your animal instincts, and nobody is going to hold you accountable. You do not have to fear God. In fact, they do not believe in God anymore, and this is why we have seen from the early 19th century, the Western countries, they have separated religion from the state. The reason for that was because they did not believe God can do anything to the betterment of the country, to the betterment of the economy. So forget about God. This is what they're doing. And so if you do not want to practice Islam, if you do not want to fear God, if you do not want to have any kind of consciousness of your existence, even, like, you can think you do not even exist. Like, you can live in this, in a world, a delusional world, where you can question even your own existence. Like, oh, do I exist this way? Or should I exist that way? Am I a man? Am I a woman? People do that all the time. We have seen this. So people are changing their, gender. People are changing everything. SubhanAllah. So you can question your existence, you can question your identity, you can question anything, you can question your religion, you can question any God's existence. So when Russia is now, obviously Russia is now becoming a lot stronger financially as a country, when they're becoming stronger, what is happening is that in the West, inflation is going up, including in Russia, but inflation in the Western countries, it is so bad right now that these countries, they are now pausing believe it or not, they are now pausing to introduce new sanction against Russia, because sanction is working against Russia, but at the same time, it is also affecting their own economy. I'm talking about the Western countries' economy. So now they're saying, look, we cannot just keep on sanctioning Russia, because then we end up having our commodities price going up. We cannot have energy, we cannot have food, everything is just so expensive. When Russia started this invasion of Ukraine, one thing Putin he said was that this is going to be a noble cause. And obviously he was referring to Christianity. He was saying that this noble cause is fighting against this evil coming from the West. What kind of evil? Well, all kind of fahsha he was referring to, all kind of corruption, people deviating from the Bible. This is what he was referring to, Putin. Now, the West, as I said, is built pretty much on a system that is very, very Dajjalic. Facing this huge challenge from Putin, from Russia, it is going to face an existential threat. Whether this system can keep on going, whether this system needs some modification, whether this system can even survive. They are going to have to think about that. If this Russian aggression against Ukraine and ruble is becoming stronger each day, the West must find a way out in order to avoid a complete disaster. And when the West would face this existential crisis in terms of their dollar value, in terms of their economy, I'm not talking about country-wise or territory-wise, I'm talking about the economic system of those countries. They are then going to have to do two things. Number one option they will have is to fight back against Russia until they destroy Russia and take over the oil and gas industry, which is very, very unlikely, because Russia is not going to do that and not going to allow them to do it. Why? Because Russia has nukes. So for the Dajjalic system to take over Russian oil field and energy, it is next to impossible. And that is again because of the nukes, nuclear weapon that Russia has. The other option they have is to get along with Russia, is to come on the negotiating table and say that you can keep Ukraine. We do not care about Ukraine anymore, but supply us with your energy, with your gas, with your oil and whatnot. So these are the two options, and both options are not at this point viable at all. As a result, the West right now would have no other option but to wait and see. This is going to be the policy. This is what will happen. So the Dajjalic system is being challenged by Russia, because Russia, on the other hand, they do not follow the Dajjalic system. They do not want to follow any system that goes against the teaching of Bible. And this is why they are called Orthodox Christian. They are called Orthodox Christian for a reason. And that is because they want to adhere to the teaching of the Bible. Well, you may call Bible the teaching that the one we have right now is pretty Dajjalic, but at the end of the day, they are following the Bible. This is what they believe. You cannot change that. On the other hand, the Western system, they do not follow Bible. They do not follow anything. They just follow their whims and desires. Now, the Mahdi also we talk about in this channel. How Russian invasion or Putin will play a role in the coming of the Mahdi. How he will play a role. Well, that thing, when it comes to the Mahdi, it is much worse for not only for Putin, also for us, for the Muslims. Why? Number one reason is because the Mahdi, when the system of Mahdi will be installed, the Khilafah will be established on earth, it will not tolerate any other power. And so it will have no other option. I'm talking about the Mahdi system. It will have no other option but to eviscerate the other powerful nations or military powers, because otherwise it will always face a lot of challenges it doesn't want to face. The Khilafah, once it is established, it will make sure, just like any other system in the world, that no other power is going to be challenging them. Okay? As a result, the Khilafah, the Mahdi system, will push back not only Russia but also the West. Any country, including China, whoever will come on its way, the Khilafah, the Mahdi system will push back. Even if it means Malhama, Tul Kubra, that we talk about, the great battle, the fierce battle, doesn't matter. It is going to go ahead and do that. Russia is not doing it. If you think about the Mahdi system and Russia, there is this clear distinction. Russia, or any country for that matter, will never ever go after any power and challenge them openly. They will never do it, because then they will think, well, what will happen to us? If we do this, something will go wrong, or that we will face backlash and it will backfire. But the Mahdi system, because it is based on the the methodology of Khilafah, it will not care. It will just push back against any superpower until it becomes the dominant one. All right. In that case, again, as I said, it is going to be much worse, because then we will see Malhamatul Kubra taking place, the fierce battle. At the same time, the other thing that will happen is the whole world will gang up on the Mahdi system. So Russia is actually, if they cannot be, if this, this Putin and his military cannot be subverted, then what will happen is the West will probably at one point ally with Russia. Forget about these conflicts, forget about the differences they have. The whole Western power, including Russia, US, all of them, will probably ally with each other and build a very strong, a powerful, super powerful military that the world has never seen before. Never. And that it would be the challenge for the Mahdi system to face. That they will be facing a military, and Rasulullah he said that فَيَسْتَمِعُونَ الْمَلْحَمَةِ, they will gather together for the malhama. Who will be gathering together? Do you think it's only Russia? No. It is all of them, the Western powers. Now, final point about this topic is we have to talk about China. China right now is watching, and they are learning from Russian mistake, and also learning from Western mistake and their limitation, their capabilities. China right now, by looking at Russia and seeing that sanctions are not working the way everybody thought it would in the long term, China is feeling a lot more confidence now to join Russia openly and invade Taiwan. And forget about who will say what, or forget about the sanction, forget about the consequences. China might go on the offensive. They might come out in public openly supporting Russia. Because again, sanctions, they work in the short term, but who doesn't need Chinese products, right? I'm talking to you on the phone, it's made of China, right? So China might join, and we might see something, a huge catastrophe coming on our way. It is going to be an apocalyptic scenario once China joins Russia, and the West imposes sanctions on them too. It's going to be huge. Guys, if you're new here, consider to subscribe. I have a few comments here. I'll leave you. I'll respond to the comments. Muhammad Salman, Luna. Inshallah, I'll respond to your comment. As for Malik Yasin, wa alaikum assalam. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.